When I was at the point of it being undeniable that my ex was cheating, the latter part of my marriage, I've said this before, but I went and I prayed about what to do because, as emotional as I felt, I understood that it was not going to be a good idea for me to act on my emotions. I would be better suited coming up with strategy and moving with logic and reason, right? Even though the man I was married to was not, I knew that I would only make things worse if I got in my feelings and just acted on them. So I prayed. I asked God, what do I do? And one of the first things he told me was to let go. And I didn't really understand what that meant, but that was the first thing. And then he told me, you keep doing what you're supposed to do. Don't go looking for nothing, because I knew he was cheating in my heart, but I had no proof of it in reality. So God told me, don't go look for nothing and don't retaliate. Don't get into a petty back and forth trying to, just don't let yourself go there. And so those was his instructions to me. And so once I was given those instructions, I didn't like what God told me. I didn't. I hated it, as a matter of fact. I cried over it. But I knew my relationship with God was such that if he was willing to answer me, because there's been times that I've prayed and God wouldn't answer, he would go quiet. So I knew that if I prayed and he took the time to answer me, that I better listen. I better heed it, even though I didn't like the answer. So letting go was so crucial and critical in my process. And I didn't know what that would look like. I didn't understand what letting go meant. But I had to walk it out. I had to figure out what does letting go look like, and I had to walk it out. And for me, letting go was more mental. It was mental. It was letting go of what I believed my marriage would be, letting go of any idea of control, letting go of him in my heart to a certain extent, right? And it was very difficult to do because we were living under the same roof for a period of time. We were still sleeping in the same bed. So me letting go of him was, for me, a lot of mental work. It was more mental than anything because, again, in the physical, he still lives under the same roof with me. And what's wild is it was overcoming the mental manipulation, the mental, I could say mental abuse of my ex, right? My then husband. It was working around that because I had confronted him multiple times, letting him know, I know you're cheating, right? I didn't have the proof, but I knew he was cheating. And when you confront somebody you're married to and you're like, look, I know you're not faithful to me. Why don't you come clean? And then they're just playing these mental mind games with you. That was why the letting go lesson or part for me was so important, because I had to get tougher mentally dealing with someone like who I was married to, who was playing mental mind games with me. Now, mind you, he would come home every day. He would say he loved me. He would reach over and give me a kiss. All of this while he's cheating. And my assignment was to continue to do what I'm supposed to do, regardless of what he is or is not doing. That was my assignment. So that's why I said the biggest part of what I had to endure was becoming more mentally tough, dealing with a master manipulator, a liar, a deceiver. And so the letting go part for me was mentally letting him go. I had to figure out the fine line of walking my life out without depending on him, right? Not worrying about him, and still doing everything I know I'm supposed to do. Like I said, I still cook, cleaned, washed clothes. I still did everything I would normally do while knowing that I'm having to let this man go. It was, like I said, it was very much a mental exercise, the whole letting go part. And it wasn't easy. But I'm glad I stuck to it and through it, because letting go, it helped shift the atmosphere. It shifted my power back to me, because I stopped looking at him and I started focusing on me. That's what letting go did. It started letting me focus on me, and not from a malicious place or at all. And as a matter of fact, because I didn't engage in any pettiness with him, any get back games, because I didn't do that, and because I was focusing mentally on me and letting him go and letting him do whatever he wanted to do, right? Like I said, I let him cheat in peace. That whole thing, it shifted the atmosphere. It shifted the power back to me. And what I started picking up on, and God was, like I said, when God really knows all. Like, I couldn't have thought of this myself, but now that I've walked through it and I'm on the other side of it, it was so masterful what happened. So, in me letting him go, it really meant that I got very quiet, because once you've said all the things you could say, talked it out a million times with a person, and their behavior doesn't change, words become just noise at a certain point in time. And that's what I began to realize, that me just continually talking was futile. It wasn't going to benefit anything. And so as I was becoming very quiet, peaceful, still doing everything I was supposed to do, operating in integrity, it made my ex sit up and pay attention. And that's what I believe, that the power of getting quiet is a powerful tool that a lot of women do not use. And because I was simply obeying God, I didn't realize it until I was walking through it, and I was starting to realize. And there was one point where God used one of my family members to kind of highlight something to me, because I'm one of those type of wives that I don't tell people my business. Nobody in my family knew what I was going through for years with my ex. Nobody. They didn't know that I was thinking he was cheating on me. They didn't know all of the turmoil that was happening with his children. They didn't know anything. So when this family member said to me one day, I noticed he calling you a lot. He's checking on you a lot. God was using that family member to highlight something to me. That because I changed my disposition, I had shifted the power back to myself. Because I stopped worrying about what he was doing, I wasn't blowing his phone up when he was away. I literally was letting him live his life however he wanted to live it. It shifted the power back to me. I started to notice that he was doing things to get my attention. He was more interested in me and what I had going on. And I believe that was the power of me letting go and becoming quiet. And when I say quiet, I don't mean I didn't talk to him at all. We talked about everyday things that needed to be discussed, because again, we were still under the same roof. But I wasn't, quote unquote, nagging. I wasn't asking him about his whereabouts and what he was doing or whatever. I was letting go. I was pulling back. I was just letting him do him. And I don't think he knew how to take it. He didn't know how to take it because he couldn't read me. And that's why I say this is so powerful for women, because a lot of times we're talking too much and we're giving away too much of the game to these men, whether we're dating them and talking too much, or whether we're married to them and talking too much. Talking too much is giving away the game to them. And we got to stop. And me pulling back, letting him do him, right? Not being mean and evil and trying to pay him back, right? And I'm not saying it was easy, but it taught me something so powerful. Like I said, it shifted the power back to me because I genuinely stopped worrying about what he was doing, because I knew that I had to shift my reality to the fact that at some point, this man is no longer going to be in my life. And even though he think he's playing these mind games with me because he's coming home every day and he's saying, I love you, and he's acting like he's interested, I knew that he wasn't going to be there forever. I still knew that in the back of my mind. This man is eventually going to have to step because he's trying to cover up something. And I didn't know what it was at that time. I did not know the extent of what he was covering up. I just knew that he wasn't being honest. And I knew that at some point, the other shoe was going to drop. And so I'm realizing that, and realizing you got to mentally prepare yourself for the next stage because he's playing mind games with you. But also, me getting quiet was making him double take and look at me a little bit deeper. He was trying to figure me out because I wasn't talking. I wasn't talking my feelings, at least. I wasn't talking my disappointments. I wasn't talking any of that. When I would talk anything related to the relationship, it was strategic. And it was really about us being sensible adults and coming up with a plan. That was how I was speaking to him. Let's be sensible adults and come up with a plan, because I was letting him know that in spite of me being quiet and peaceful with you and cordial with you, I'm not dumb. I know what you're doing. And that was confusing him even more, because I was reminding him every so often that I'm not dumb. I know you're cheating. Let's just come up with a plan so we can move on peacefully. And that was messing him up mentally. But I noticed that he became more interested in me. But at this point of the shift that happened in me, he knew he had nothing to do with my peaceful and quiet demeanor. He knew he had nothing to do with it. So it was confusing to him. Now that I have more evidence and facts related to his mistress, I also know this was the time when their relationship started to become a little bit more rocky. And it was because he was trying to figure out his wife. But he had already crossed the point of no return because he had already had a child with his mistress. This was right at the beginning. It was rocky. And he was trying to figure that part out. And then he's looking at his wife like, who is this lady? Because she's not nagging me, nitpicking me. She's not worried about what I'm doing. So that made him perk up and look at me. But at the same time, he had a whole other situation on the other hand where he had to balance that. Now, when I back up and I think about my timeline of when God was answering my prayer, God already knew that this baby was coming. When he first told me to let go, you've done what you're supposed to do. That was his first thing he told me. Let go, you've done what you're supposed to do. He knew that things was about to take a turn with my ex and his mistress. He knew that he was about to reach the point of no return. That he had sped through all those warning lights, warning signs. He had sped through all of them. And God knew that this is about to go left. He's about to go to the point of no return. So that was when God was telling me, let go. You've done what you're supposed to do. Now, fast forward, when he gives me more instructions and he says, don't go looking for nothing and don't retaliate. When he tells me that, everything is already in the works as far as my ex and his mistress and a child. That's already in the works. So as I'm walking through that And I'm figuring out, like, how do I move forward with this? He's already in the thick of a situation with his mistress, a situation he can't take back, a situation he can't rewind the clock back on. So as I'm quiet and peaceful and doing everything I'm supposed to do, he's feeling some kind of way because he know he can't undo what he's done. And he also knows that, I guess it's bothering him that I'm not fussing and fighting and cussing and fussing on a daily with him. It's bothering him because I'm too quiet. I'm too peaceful. He don't know how to read it. He don't know what that means. He don't know if I know what's up, or he don't know if he don't know. He just don't know, right? And that's the point. He just doesn't know. He doesn't know what's going on. He can't figure me out. He's trying to get closer to me. He's trying to win favor with me so he can figure out what's going on with her, because she's not saying nothing. She's not bothering me. And that's why I say a woman getting quiet is their most powerful weapon, most powerful tool. Get quiet, get peaceful, look inward at yourself as a woman. Stop worrying about what that man is doing. Is powerful. It shifted the power dynamic. It shifted the power dynamic. I don't even know any other way to explain it. But if you were feeling like you were losing, when you get quiet and you start focusing on you and your future and what good things can come to you, you start feeling like a winner. And that's why, as upset as I was when I first realized this man is really cheating on me, that shifted to me feeling sorry for my ex. And to this day, I only feel sorry for him because I know how bad he messed up. And I know that because I didn't give him a reason, right? Me fussing and fighting with him or having arguments all the time, he would have used that as justification for what he was doing. But because I wasn't doing that, he had no leg to stand on. So I've said this before, but I understand that when a man loses access to a good woman who brought good into their life, it changes them forever. They'll never be the same. And that's why I feel sorry for him, because I know that he'll never be the same. And I know that I've already had the experience of him trying to hold on to me when he knew it was over. Matter of fact, I had the experience of him enlisting a family member to try to convince me to stay with him, to work it out. But he went so far beyond the point of no return. He didn't even have a leg to stand on as far as trying to talk to me about staying together and working it out. He had to ask on his family members. He had to talk to his family member and, I guess, plead to them. And they tried. But nothing they were saying to me was making any sense. It was kind of like, I know he did all this stuff to you and you done been through all of this, but y'all should stay together. But we didn't even have a foundation because he married me and he immediately started cheating. So we didn't even have a foundation together for real. There was no real foundation on why we should be together. And that's why I say, when I take my mind back to how God was leading me and instructing me, and his first instruction was let go, it was because he already knew. I've given this man so many opportunities to do the right thing by this good woman that I brought into his life, and he won't do it. And now he's about to embark on a point of no return. God actually instructed me to let go right before my ex got to the point of no return in his affair. And once he got to that point of no return and he started noticing the shift in me, it was too late. And that's why I feel sorry for him. Because he had no good reason for what he did. None. None. But ladies, if you want your man, let's say it's not a situation like mine, not a situation where the man is blatantly cheating and disrespecting you as his wife. Maybe it's a situation where he's just being out of order as a man. The best way you can cure that is to get quiet and reflecting inwardly. Get quiet, reflect inwardly. That will make that man stand up at attention and pay attention. That'll make that man check himself. That's something that I actually witnessed in real time in my life. Me getting quiet, me focusing on me, letting go of him, not trying to control any part of our situation, just focusing on me, making strategic moves, being healthy as I could mentally, not being malicious. Me doing all of that made my ex sit up and check himself. It made him look at himself. It made him pay closer attention to me. If you're a woman and you're trying to get that man's attention through a bunch of talking, it's not going to work. It's going to backfire. You got to actually do the opposite. You got to focus on you. You got to get quiet. And you got to let that man go walk out whatever he got to walk out. And trust God to help that man figure it out. We don't control it. Not one human being. We only can control ourselves. So even if it means that you got to let that person go, meaning let go of the idea of y'all even being together. Because again, if a person doesn't want you, they don't want you. If a person doesn't want to be there and be in their full capacity, you can't make them do anything. The only thing you can focus on is you. And that's what I began to do. And it shifted everything. And again, that's why to this day, I only feel sorry for my ex. As bad as what he did was, I only feel sorry for him. Number one, because I know who I am, right? I know who I am. I know I'm a good woman. I know I did him no harm. And I know the type of regret that a person has when they choose to mistreat a person that did not mistreat them. When they choose to throw dirt on somebody who always did the right thing by them. I know the level of regret he's going to have. And he may not be experiencing it now, but there's going to come a point where it's going to hit him like a ton of bricks. And I could already tell that it was affecting my ex because, again, he was trying to hold on. He was scrambling and scraping, trying to hold on to something that he killed. And that's why I feel sorry for him, because I know the kind of regret he's going to have. Because he can't point the finger at me and say, she was doing this and she was doing that. He can only point the finger at himself and say, dang, she did me right when I was doing her wrong. And men have a hard time grasping that. That's why I kept things as peaceful as I kept them. That's why I kept things the way I kept them, because I understood that how this was going to play out for him. I hope he can handle it. Let me say it like that. I believe he'll be able to handle it, but it'll be a burden for him. It will be a burden because I know who I am. Like I said, I'm not conceited, but I know who I am. And I know what it does to people. I know what it does when you do someone wrong and then you can't make it right. There's nothing you can do to make it right. That's a big regret. And that's why I pay attention to how I treat people. That's why I personally do that. But ladies, if you figure out how to harness that power, the spirit of hush, when it comes to a man, especially a man who's out of order, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It changes that man. And it doesn't mean that you have to be hateful towards him to get quiet. At the point that I was getting quiet, I did not hate my ex. I did not hate my then husband. I still loved him. And I still love him with the love of God. I do. But I understand that he was not beneficial for me. He was not an asset for my life. His purpose in my life was to pull me down, to drag me down, to harm me. And God had to put a wedge of protection there because I was married to someone who was trying to harm me, who had done things to harm me. And so, with that, all of that said, ladies, implement that strategy for yourself. Implement that policy for yourself. The policy of getting quiet. The policy of moving your focus, shifting your focus to you when a man is out of order, when your husband, right? Because I'm specifically speaking about a husband who's out of order. If it's somebody you're serious with and y'all move into marriage, use the power of being quiet, self-reflection, letting go, not trying to control him or anything about what he has going on. Let it go. Center yourself. Center yourself on what's important, what needs to be focused on, which is you first. You first, making sure you're right. And you'll see that man shift. And because I was doing what I was doing, I was getting quiet, and it had nothing to do with him. It was just me being obedient. Because I was just operating in obedience to God when I was getting quiet and I was just following what God told me to do, I didn't even really notice it right away. It actually took the family member to say, he's really like, he be checking on you a lot, for me to realize, he is. And it was like, I was kind of seeing it, but when my family member said it out loud to me, like I said, it made me realize, like, oh, wow, they're right. And then that's, like I said, in hindsight, I'm realizing like it was all connected to the way I was moving, how I had shifted the energy and the atmosphere of my marriage just because I was being obedient, not because I was doing anything, any hoodoo, voodoo, or witchcraft. I wasn't doing any of that. I was just simply obeying what God told me to do. And I was looking inward to me. And I was preparing myself for the next steps of my life. And that, just doing that, shifted the atmosphere, gave me my power back because I wasn't worried about him. I was worried about what was for me and what God wanted me to do. And it's powerful. And like I said, I believe this is what the Bible talks about when it says a woman winning her husband with her ways, right? You don't win a man by talking, you win him by what you do. And because I was focused on me and keeping my integrity and not worrying about him and letting him be a man and do what he had to do or what he felt he wanted to do, me keeping focus on me and not on him, it shifted him. And it shifted his relationship with his mistress at the same time. And that's just a lesson learned on my healing journey.